During a family dinner with my parents, I received a text from an unfamiliar number. Get up and leave now. Don't say anything to your parents. I chose to obey the message, and that's how I found out the truth. The very next day, the police were knocking on their front door. But what my family didn't know was that I'm a cybersecurity specialist for banks. And when they tried to drug me and steal my money using my fingerprint, they were actually hacking into a honeypot account I'd set up specifically for situations like this. Every transaction attempt was being recorded by federal fraud detection systems. They thought they were stealing $15,000. Instead, they triggered a federal investigation that revealed they'd been systematically draining my accounts for 3 years. What's strange is how completely ordinary everything felt right before it unraveled. I hadn't expected warmth or emotional breakthroughs. My family doesn't do those, but I definitely wasn't prepared for what actually unfolded. The most dangerous kind of trap where life appears normal until it catches you off guard. I walked inside and Mom immediately called from the kitchen. We're just about to eat. Come on in. Like I'd arrived late to some cheerful gathering instead of responding to an invitation that had come after 3 weeks of total silence. Dad rose from his dining room chair a beat too slowly, like he was calculating whether we were doing hugs or sticking to polite nods. We nodded. Of course. My sister Jenna was already at the table, lazily scrolling through her phone with that perfected disinterest she'd been practicing since high school. She glanced up just long enough to acknowledge my existence, then returned to her screen, the bare minimum attention required. That didn't bother me. I wasn't there to win anyone over. I was there because after weeks of cold shoulder treatment following my refusal to bankroll her latest financial crisis, they'd suddenly invited me to just family dinner. No agenda mentioned, no strings attached. The table was set with unusual care. My seat pulled out, waiting. A glass of cranberry juice at my place, my old favorite from childhood, though I hadn't touched the stuff in years. They'd remembered details I'd forgotten I'd shared. You still like cranberry, right? Mom asked with a smile that felt like performance art. I nodded, not wanting to open that conversation. We sat down. They served the meal, basic fare, but prepared with more attention than usual. Chicken that wasn't overcooked, potatoes with actual seasoning. The conversation stayed carefully neutral. Work updates, weather complaints, neighborhood gossip. I responded appropriately, smiled when expected, even chuckled when Jenna mentioned a coworker getting stuck in revolving doors. Not because it was funny, but because I knew my role, the quiet one, the reliable one, the family member who didn't rock boats. What they didn't know was that my job had taught me to recognize patterns, to spot anomalies in behavior, to detect when systems were being gamed. And everything about this dinner felt like a carefully orchestrated social engineering attack. I work in cybersecurity for a major bank. My specialty is detecting and preventing internal fraud. When employees or family members exploit access to steal money. I've seen every variation: fake emergencies, emotional manipulation, technical exploits, social pressure campaigns, and I was watching my family deploy every technique in the playbook: the overly careful setup, the nostalgic details, the casual mention of my recent promotion, the way they kept steering conversation toward my financial stability, my generous nature, how family should support family. Midway through Dad's practiced rant about construction delays, my phone buzzed in my lap. Without much thought, I checked it under the table. Unknown number. Message brief and urgent. Get up and leave now. Don't say anything to your parents. I stared at it, then read it again. Around me, dinner continued normally. Mom nodding along to Dad's complaints, Jenna chewing mechanically while scrolling. But someone was telling me to flee. Like the house had suddenly become a danger zone. I didn't move immediately. A dozen explanations flashed through my head. Wrong number, prank, scam, social experiment. But my professional training had taught me to take security warnings seriously, even when they seemed impossible. I'll be right back, I said, sliding my chair back.
Just need to use the bathroom. Nobody questioned it. Nobody even looked up. I took my phone and went upstairs to the bathroom with a door that actually locked. If someone was going to explain why I needed to evacuate my own family dinner, it wasn't happening where they could overhear. I locked the door, sat on the edge of the bathtub and hit call. One ring, then a voice. You're still there. Who is this? It's Mark. Jenna's boyfriend. Ex-boyfriend actually, though it was hard to keep track of their on-again, off-again situation. What the hell is going on? His voice was low, urgent. You need to leave. Just get up. Walk out. Don't drink anything. Especially don't drink the juice. My mouth went dry. I hadn't touched the cranberry juice yet. Why? I can't. Just trust me, please. What is this? Why are you even— Look, I was helping Jenna with something last week. Computer stuff. I saw things. He paused. They've been planning this. The dinner, the drink, everything. Planning what? Another hesitation. They want access to your phone, your bank accounts. They think if you pass out, they can use your fingerprint to transfer money. The bathroom tiles felt cold through my clothes. That's insane. Is it? When's the last time they invited you over without asking for money first? I tried to think. Really tried. They've been watching your social media, tracking your promotion announcements, calculating how much you probably make now. Jenna's been talking about it for weeks. But drugging me? That's felony level desperate, Mark finished. Look, I broke up with her over this. I'm not going to be part of whatever this is. But I couldn't just let it happen without warning you. After Mark hung up, I sat in that bathroom processing what he'd told me. Part of me wanted to dismiss it as ex-boyfriend drama, but my professional experience made that impossible. I'd investigated cases exactly like this. Family members who'd gained access to elderly relatives' accounts, siblings who'd exploited trust to steal inheritance money, adult children who'd manipulated parents into financial vulnerability, and I'd seen what people do when they're desperate enough. More importantly, I'd developed systems to protect against exactly this kind of attack, not because I'd been expecting my own family to target me, but because cybersecurity professionals learn to be paranoid about everything. I pulled up my banking app and checked something most people don't know exists: access logs. Every time someone tries to log into your account, from which device at what time, from which location, my blood went cold. There had been multiple failed login attempts over the past month. Different devices, always from my parents' neighborhood. Always late at night when I'd be asleep. Someone had been trying to crack my passwords systematically. They hadn't succeeded because I use military-grade security protocols, but they'd been trying, and now they'd moved to Plan B, physical access through drugged unconsciousness.
I made a decision that would have seemed paranoid to anyone else, but felt routine to someone in my profession. I was going to let them think their plan worked, while documenting everything for law enforcement. I opened my phone settings and activated something most people don't know exists: stealth recording mode. No visible indicators, no notifications, just background audio capture that would run until I turned it off. Then I did something more sophisticated. I opened my banking app and enabled honeypot mode, a security feature banks developed for exactly these situations. It creates a fake account that looks real, but actually feeds directly to fraud detection systems. Any transaction attempts trigger immediate federal investigation protocols. I transferred $15,000 from my real account into the honeypot, making it look like my primary checking account. If they managed to access my phone, they'd see what appeared to be easy money. But the moment they tried to move it, they'd be committing federal wire fraud against a monitored financial institution. Finally, I did something that would seem insane to most people, but felt like basic digital hygiene to me. I prepared multiple evidence streams: phone recording for audio, screen recording for visual, network monitoring for digital forensics. If my family was planning to commit a felony against me, I was going to make sure the evidence was bulletproof. I came back downstairs feeling like I was walking into an elaborate sting operation, which in a way I was. Sorry about that, I said, settling back into my chair. Everything okay down here? 3 faces turned toward me with expressions of carefully manufactured concern. Of course, honey, Mom said. We were just worried you weren't feeling well. I picked up the cranberry juice glass and examined it casually. To them, it probably looked like normal behavior. To me, I was conducting a visual inspection for tampering. The liquid was slightly cloudier than pure cranberry juice should be. There were tiny particles suspended in it that could have been pulp, but probably weren't. This tastes exactly like I remember, I said, lifting the glass toward my lips, but I didn't drink. Instead, I used a technique I'd learned in corporate security training, misdirection combined with sleight of hand. Was that someone in the driveway? I asked, turning toward the window. All 3 of them turned to look. In that moment, I tilted the glass under the table and let most of the contents spill onto the carpet. Not all of it, that would be suspicious. Just enough to create the appearance of consumption while avoiding whatever they'd put in it. The liquid soaked into the carpet quickly. I set the glass back down, now mostly empty. Must have been a neighbor, Dad said, turning back. Yeah, I agreed. Hey, this juice is really good, but I'm starting to feel weird, kind of tired and dizzy. Mom leaned forward with an expression of perfectly calibrated concern. Oh, honey, are you okay? I think so, I said, making my voice slightly slurred. Just really woozy all of a sudden? Maybe I should lie down for a minute. Nobody hesitated. They helped me to the living room couch like I was precious cargo, like they were loving caretakers, instead of criminals executing a premeditated assault. I lay down, closed my eyes, and tried to slow my breathing. The couch cushion was warm under my shoulder. Someone draped a blanket over my legs with tender care. Then I heard it begin. Is she asleep? Mom whispered. Yeah, she's out, Jenna confirmed. Okay, Dad said quietly. Let's do this quickly. The sound of my phone being lifted from the coffee table where I'd placed it. Then something that made my skin crawl. Fingers gently taking my hand. My thumb being positioned against the sensor. A pause. A faint vibration. Unlocked. We're in, Jenna whispered. What followed was a masterclass in family betrayal, delivered in hushed tones while they thought I was unconscious. Okay, she's got multiple accounts, Jenna said. Checking, savings, investment account. Holy shit, she's got more than I thought. How much? Dad asked. The checking account alone has 15,000. Savings has, Jesus, 43,000. Just take from checking, Mom said. That way she might think she moved it herself when she was drunk. Drunk. They thought they'd gotten me drunk, not drugged, which meant this wasn't their first time doing this to someone. Where are we sending it? Jenna asked. The account I set up, Dad replied. Route it there first, then we can move it to pay off your debt. My sister's gambling debt, the one they pressured me to cover, that I'd refused to pay. This was their alternative solution. Steal the money instead of asking for it. It's asking for 2-factor authentication, Jenna said, frustrated. What's that mean? Mom asked. Security code. She changed her settings since last time. They'd done this before. Try her email, Dad suggested. Maybe the code went there. Email's locked too. Everything's locked except the basic account view. I heard Dad curse softly. Just put the phone back. We'll figure out another way. Wait, Jenna said. Let me try one more thing. More tapping. Then, fuck, it logged the attempt. There's a notification about unusual access patterns or something. Panic in her voice now. Good. The honeypot was working exactly as designed. I waited another minute, giving them time to compose themselves and return to their positions. Then I opened my eyes slowly, sat up with practiced grogginess. Sorry, I said, blinking like someone emerging from unexpected unconsciousness. Don't know what that was. Felt like I blacked out for a second. 3 faces stared at me with expressions I'd never seen before. Relief mixed with disappointment. Concern layered over guilt. You sure you're okay? Dad asked. Yeah, I think I just need some fresh air, I said, reaching for my phone like nothing had happened. Actually, I think I'm going to head home. Early day tomorrow. They nodded quickly. No protests. No offers to drive me home. No suggestion that I should stay until I felt better. Just eager agreement that I should leave as soon as possible. At the door, we did our traditional goodbye hugs.
Mom's perfume, Dad's aftershave, Jenna's hair product. Familiar sensations now poisoned by knowledge. This is the last time I thought. This is the last time I'm hugging these people. I almost cried. Almost. But my professional training kicked in. Maintain operational security until the mission is complete. Thanks for dinner, I said. It was really illuminating. They smiled like they hadn't just committed multiple felonies against their own daughter. I got in my car and drove away like everything was normal.
I didn't go home. I went to my office where I had access to professional grade forensic tools and a secure network for evidence processing. The honeypot had worked perfectly. Every attempted transaction was logged with timestamps, device information, and attempted routing details. The federal fraud detection system had flagged the activity immediately and started building a case file automatically. But I had more than just digital evidence. I had audio recordings of the entire planning conversation, metadata showing when my phone was unlocked and by whom, and proof of the drugging attempt in the form of toxicology testing I'd do on the remaining juice residue I'd carefully collected from the carpet. Most people don't realize that modern smartphones create forensic trails for everything. Every unlock, every app access, every network connection, every location ping. When someone uses your phone without permission, they leave digital fingerprints that are harder to erase than physical ones. I spent 3 hours that night building what prosecutors would later call the most well-documented case of family fraud they'd ever seen. When I walked into the FBI field office the next morning, I didn't look like a victim. I looked like a cybersecurity professional presenting a case study. I need to report attempted felony fraud with digital evidence, I told the agent at the desk. She directed me to a specialist who worked financial crimes. Agent Martinez listened to my entire presentation, audio recordings, digital forensics, toxicology evidence, pattern analysis showing previous attempt patterns. This is incredibly thorough, she said when I finished. Most victims come to us with complaints but no evidence. You've built a federal case. It's what I do for a living, I said, just usually for banks, not for myself. The drug component makes this especially serious. Assault with intent to commit fraud. We'll need to coordinate with local police for the poisoning charges. She explained that because the attempted theft involved digital banking systems, it automatically became federal jurisdiction. And because there was evidence of systematic access attempts over time, it suggested a pattern of behavior that elevated the charges significantly. How quickly can you execute warrants, I asked. With evidence this solid today. I wasn't there when they arrested my family, but Agent Martinez called me afterward with details. 3 arrests, she said. Parents at home, daughter at her workplace. No resistance, full cooperation once they realized what evidence we had. What did they say? Your father claimed it was a family loan arrangement. Your mother said you'd agreed to help with expenses. Your sister said it was a misunderstanding. And the recording where they planned to drug me, that changed the conversation pretty quickly. Their lawyer advised immediate cooperation. The charges were extensive: conspiracy to commit fraud, attempted bank fraud, assault with intent to facilitate robbery, identity theft, computer intrusion, and drug-facilitated theft. The federal charges alone carried 10-year maximums, Martinez explained. But with cooperation and first offense considerations, they're looking at probation with heavy restrictions. My phone started buzzing within hours of the arrests. Messages from family members I hadn't heard from in years, all with variations of the same theme. How could I do this to my own family? Aunt Carol, your parents are devastated. You're destroying the family over money. Cousin Mike, they raised you, fed you, loved you, and this is how you repay them. Uncle David, whatever they did, family should forgive family. This is going too far. I responded to exactly one message from my grandmother. They drugged me and tried to steal my money. That's not family. That's a crime syndicate that happens to share my DNA. Then I changed my number, blocked all family contacts, and activated federal victim protection protocols that made my contact information unavailable through normal channels. The case never went to trial. With evidence that detailed and clear, their lawyers advised immediate plea agreements. All three pled guilty to reduced charges: conspiracy to commit fraud, assault for the drugging, computer intrusion. Sentences: 2 years probation, restitution for investigation costs, mandatory counseling, and permanent no contact orders. The no contact orders are unusual in family cases, Agent Martinez explained, but given the sophistication of the planning and the use of drugs, the judge considered them dangerous to use specifically. More importantly for me, they were required to surrender all devices for forensic analysis. That's when investigators found the full scope of their planning. Months of research into my financial situation, screenshots of my social media posts about work promotions, calculations of my estimated income based on public salary data for my company, even practice sessions where they'd use Jenna's phone to test fingerprint unlock techniques. This wasn't a desperate last-minute scheme. It was a long-term systematic plan to exploit and rob their own family member. 6 months later, I learned the true scope of what they'd been doing. During device forensics, investigators found evidence of previous successful thefts, bank records showing unexplained transfers from my accounts over the past 3 years, always in amounts small enough to avoid automatic fraud detection. They'd been stealing from me gradually for years, using password resets and social engineering to gain access whenever I visited. The dinner plan was just the most ambitious attempt yet. Total amount stolen over time, $47,000. Money I'd thought went to bad investment decisions or miscalculated spending. Money I'd budgeted for but couldn't account for. Money that had made me question my own financial management skills. They'd been gaslighting me about my own money while systematically stealing it. The restitution order was updated to include the historical theft. They were required to pay back everything, plus investigation costs, plus punitive damages. Most family fraud cases involve emotional manipulation, Agent Martinez told me. This was professional-level systematic exploitation. They treated you like a mark, not a daughter. I never reached out to any of them during their probation period. The no-contact orders made it legally impossible anyway, but more than that, I didn't want to. I heard through distant relatives that they'd sold the family house to pay restitution and legal fees. That dad had lost his job when the background check for his security clearance renewal found the fraud conviction. That mom had to move in with her sister in another state. Jenna's finance career was over before it started. You can't work in financial services with fraud convictions. Last I heard, she was working retail and living with roommates. Mark, the ex-boyfriend who'd warned me, reached out once through a mutual friend to ask if I was okay. I was, and I thanked him. He'd shown more loyalty to me in one phone call than my blood relatives had in years. As for me, I got promoted again, bought my own house, and started a side consulting business helping other professionals protect themselves from family financial abuse. Turns out there's a huge market for that. People ask if I regret destroying my family relationships over money. I always correct them. I didn't destroy anything. I exposed what was already destroyed. You don't drug someone you love. You don't steal from someone you respect. You don't systematically exploit someone you consider family. What they did wasn't a mistake or a moment of desperation. It was a business plan with me as the target. The hardest part wasn't losing them. It was realizing I'd never really had them to begin with. So what do you think? Did I go too far or not far enough? And if you're in tech, in finance, or if you just have family members who seem unusually interested in your money, trust your instincts. Set up protections. Document everything. Because sometimes the people who raised you are the ones you need protection from. Let me know in the comments what you would have done. And subscribe for more stories about fighting back against people who think family means victim.